300D Mark I. This thing was $1,000 with a CRI 95. Let's see, is that true? I went around and I tested all of the lights in my studio, and I am blown away at what lights perform well and what lights, like, you don't want them anywhere near skin tones. This episode is sponsored by Storyblocks. 92.9. I don't know, Aputure. All right, let's get a little closer. Let's try it again. 93.9. I'm gonna stick it all the way up there. I like Aputure as a company. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. 94.8. All right, it's getting better. I want to just double check that they're not lying to me. I'm doing this for you guys. I care about you. I don't want you to get ripped off. 92.7. I got worse. I have two lights. One is an ordinary store-bought light bulb for $2.50. The other is a light I paid over $1,000 for. Which one is gonna render better skin tones? What do you guys think these shop lights are? 82. 82, that's actually better than I thought. CRI, so you've probably heard this before, color rendering index. Essentially, this was created in the 1900s by light developers who wanted to standardize the accuracy of lights, and they would compare this to the sun. So on a level of 0 to 100, 100 would be perfect light, it would be the sun. You got a lighter? Here's the real test, a lighter. What do you think the CRI of a lighter? If I'm right, the lighter should be 99. Power off, off it. 99.6. We're doing a scene with candlelight. So we're probably splitting hairs. You probably wouldn't notice the difference between a CRI 90 and a CRI 95. You would notice a difference between a CRI 75 and a CRI 95. We're not talking about color temperature. White light has all of the colors in it. What we're talking about is how cohesive that white light is if the spectrum is full. This is the thing that pros really obsess about, and this is why professional lights are so expensive. Depending on the technology that you're using, it could reproduce the colors more accurately or less accurately. Now, if you saw my last video, you know we shot at this location. One set of lights were fine. The other set of lights had a very, very poor CRI. Even though it's white light, there's a bunch of holes in the spectrum. So it's not actually giving you all of white light. So it's not reflecting naturally what skin looks like. It makes it difficult for color grading. The interesting thing is that CRI is not just important for filmmaking or photography. They use this in retail stores and grocery stores. You want food looking natural. You want it looking good. If you have like a CRI 70 light shining on a lemon and it no longer looks like a lemon, that's a problem. But also they use it for art galleries, and they use it also in neonatal care. So when like a baby is born, they need to be able to do skin examinations and make sure that the baby doesn't have a yellowing of the eyes and skin. So here's the problem. CRI was created to give us information on what our eyes can see, but not necessarily what a camera can see. As it turns out, our eyes and our brains are very forgiving on the colors that we see. They're constantly adjusting to make sense of the world, to make it look a little bit more accurate. One of these optical illusions is the chromatic bias of daylight, and a famous example of this is this illustration done by Edward H. Adelson. Both A and B squares are the same exact color, but the background in which they appear, the context, is different. Now, there are countless examples of this type of illusion, but in short, CRI has been overhauled, and there are more powerful tools that can tell us exactly what's happening with the lighting. This is a Sekonic C7000 Spectrometer. This is a very, very powerful tool. I've never owned one of these. I kind of want one now. There's a bunch of tools in here we can use. We have the CRI, TLCI, and we also have TM30. Come on, Aputure. I'm rooting for you, buddy. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not CRI 95.
I feel like we measured it before and it was.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe this thing needs to be calibrated again. 95.1. Well done, Aputure. Lupo super panels. These are really expensive, but these are really good. To 5,600 for it to be daylight. 93.8.
I feel like last time we got something that was like 95.
The Aputure MCs, these are $100, 97.4. Wow, so right now, this light is the best light so far. So I can't imagine this is gonna be anything over 80. Yeah, this is an 82.4. All right, a little bit better than I thought. I mean, like, you wouldn't really wanna light your skin with this. I'm pretty sure all of these LEDs are the same. Yeah, 82.3. These are just knockoff Philips hues. They look good, but on skin, they actually are doing weird things. What do you think it's gonna be?
I'm gonna say like 90 flat.
You think 90? 99.3.
Holy sh!
This is the best light. This is the most skin accurate light bulb we got. So this incandescent bulb is as close to the sun as we can possibly get. It's a near perfect CRI. Electricity passes through a very tiny tungsten filament. Tungsten heats up, it acts like a resistor. Atoms inside get excited, and then these atoms have to disperse extra energy. It's called black body radiation. And so the light that it creates is very even and full and broad. Are these halogen? Yeah, they might actually be.
Are they really hot?
Yeah, they are. If they create heat, it's probably pretty good. Yeah, it's a 99.6. It's the same as an incandescent. I mean, this is going to contaminate it a little bit because we got lights up here, but it should be pretty close. 98.4. Yeah, so that's the extra, but that's right. Like, this is spot on. Wow, candlelight only. We're going to go Barry Lyndon style. You know what Barry Lyndon is?
No.
Stanley Kubrick did a film at like F07. It was all candlelight only. This is the iPhone. Do I have the 10 or 11?
That's the 11. Mid-90.
You think it's mid-90?
Yeah.
92.1. All right, what do you think the screen is? No, 73.7. So that's the worst we've had yet. All right, so two things. Just because a light is CRI 97 or whatever, it takes no account of like shape of light, diffusion, well-lit, purposeful lighting. We're just talking about color quality. The second thing is CRI has been gamed by manufacturers for years. In fact, any LED is going to have a blue spike in the CRI value, and manufacturers have known this for a while, and so what they started doing is they started pumping up other values in the CRI spectrum to alleviate the problematic areas, and that's where CRI RA comes in. CRI RA shows us values in skin tones such as R9 and R13. And so when you see a light that has good qualities of R9 and R13, it normally means it's going to be a good light. It's hard to game the system with those values in the positive 90, 95 value range. All right, check this out. This flashlight is marketed as a CRI 95 flashlight, and this is not CRI 95. This is, well, let's see what it is. To visualize the difference between a high CRI and a low CRI, let's look at a TCLI color chart. These are all the colors that are represented on television screens, whereas CRI is meant for things that we see in real life through our eyes. Let's compare. All right, CRI 67 flashlight versus CRI 95 Aputure Wonderkin. What's absolutely crazy is this little flashlight, claiming to be a CRI 95, is missing one of the most important ingredients for accurate skin tones, which is R9. That light doesn't even have any R9 at all. It's just completely gone. We'll come back to this, but first, let's test out some other lights. Take a stab. I don't know. These two look like they're mismatched. 89.9. These are actually better than the ones in my office. Dude, these are almost getting a 90? Wow. I should film more scenes down here. There's an incandescent bulb down there.
So I think street lamps that are like warm colored are all halogen. So those should be.
Yeah, the green ones are mercury vapor, but I don't see too many green ones. You'll see those over by the freeway.
I think that's still a heated filament, right?
No, the sodium vapor bulb scored a negative CRI. Damn.
Should be dead. What's the legal limit for?
Okay, we're gonna leave. 64. That one, that whatever light that is 64. I didn't comprehend that there's somebody sleeping over there, some homeless guy.
And then they cranked the music
got
at
a
us.
Better sound system than I do. See what the headlights are. Do headlights heat up like old headlights do, right? 93.9, 94. Still metering. 95.6. It just beat your lights. Garbage LEDs in here.
That's them.
70.
Oh.
These are okay. They're kind of like industry standard. That's what the cheapo lights are made out of, a CRI 80 LED. What's worse are these lights, and I'll explain why. All right, so this is SK9822. These are probably the shittiest of LEDs that you can use. This is their version of white. The way they create white is it's actually a red, green, and blue chip that are all glowing at the same time. When you combine all three, it creates white. The problem is it's just not pure white. It's all over the place. Here, you can even see. Like, does this look like white to you? It kind of looks like pink. These aren't even the same color. This is the exact same thing. Wondering how it's possible to have such bad skin tones. Here's your answer right here. Look at all the bars that are missing. That's a crazy amount of color data. These are the same LEDs used in that location. Now, the only difference between that shoot and this shoot is I'm actually lighting myself with a CRI 95 LED from Lupo, which is actually doing all of the work. The truth is that when you're picking out an LED, what you would want is probably an RGB WW, red, blue, green, which makes a white, plus an additional cool white and additional warm white chip. And together you can get full RGB spectrum as well as close to CRI 95. This is the knockoff Philip Hue. In there we have RGB LEDs, but then we also have these other diodes that create two different colors of white. You know, CRI 80, it's still passable. This is great for practicals, but knowing what I know now, I would probably, unless I needed to use the RGB or I wanted the convenience of controlling these wirelessly, I would probably just use incandescent bulbs for practicals because those are gonna look better. They're cheaper and it's easier for those colors to just match. Tungsten is still the industry standard because the CRI is the closest to the sun. The problem is it generates an enormous amount of heat. It costs a lot. They're heavy and you have to gel them. And when you gel them, the color temperature doesn't always match up based on the brightness. And so you have to use one of these very expensive spectrometers to dial them in to make sure that light is even and it's hitting the actor's face at the same exact color temperature. I know, this is... Guys, I have a confession to make. I've been lying to you. I lie to you so much. My last banger video shot on Ronin 4D.
5 reports of street races. Send units to the financial district.
A couple of those shots, not shot with Ronin 4D. This clip I shot 4 years ago. Sometimes I don't have all the clips. For those times, I go to Storyblok. The funny thing is I'm actually a contributor. All of those clips I've uploaded to Storyblok. With Storyblok's unlimited all access plan, subscribers can choose from royalty-free, demand-driven library full of stock video, motion backgrounds, special effects, After Effects templates, production, music, sound effects, and more. So it's a sunny day, clear, not a cloud in the sky, and this thing tested. The CRI is 98.7, so the incandescent bulb is actually more pure than the sun, which is kind of wild. So CRI and TLCI are definitely flawed. I mean, you're distilling down the quality of a light into just a single number, and that doesn't always tell the full story. That's why TM30 is so great, is because it's actually a graphical interface and it shows you exactly what's happening to each hue and the saturation. It's very similar to tools that we use in DaVinci Resolve with color grading, and so once you know how to read it, you can see exactly what lights you should definitely stay away from and what lights are probably going to render natural, realistic colors. TM30 of this light to see exactly what is going on and just how much they're twisting and pulling. All right, so this is the CRI RA of the flashlight, scoring 68.1. We can see it's got a negative R9 value down there. It's just complete garbage. But now let's take a look at the TM30. Here we can see exactly what's happening with all the colors. We have hue and saturation right here. These are different hues: orange, darker orange, we have purple, magenta. So right here we can see that this is now being more saturated, and greens are going more towards yellow and yellows are going more towards green, and it's just a mess. And over here the teals are kind of being desaturated. Dark blue is just being pushed into purple entirely. It's nasty. Like, you don't want that. Let's definitely take a look at the TM30 of this light right here, find out what is going on with this crap. So this is the TLCI. Again, you can see, just look at all of the information that's missing here. Dip right there, that shouldn't be that way. Like, this is nasty, nasty color grading, and that's how you get those awful skin tones. And then let's look at the TM30 of it. This is probably the worst score I've ever seen. Look at the teals. The teals are completely oversaturated. And the same thing with the oranges. Orange and teal are just, they're being super saturated, and yellows are being crushed down, desaturated, and same with purples. It's very bizarre. So you're setting yourself up for a world of pain. And even if you do know how to color correct that, it's still not gonna be easy. You're still gonna have to do global as well as local changes. So for light like that, terrible TM30 score, terrible CRI, terrible TLCI, It's great for like a background practical. You would not want to light your subject with that. You always want to hit your subject with a good CRI light, and then you can put whatever garbage lights you have in the back. This episode's totally ridiculous. You guys aren't going to go out and buy a $2,200 spectrometer, although Sekonic does have more affordable ones that are like in the $500, $600, $700 range. Now there's a reason why tungsten bulbs are like industry standard in Hollywood. It's just the trade-off is they create an enormous amount of heat and they cost a lot to run that hot. LEDs are certainly coming around. Arri just came out with the Orbiter like 2 years ago. That's a CRI 99 and a TCLI 95 LED, and it's full RGB spectrum. So, you know, the technology is definitely coming up. I don't want this to seem like I'm bashing LEDs this episode. Most of the lights that I shoot on, no, all of the lights that I shoot on are LEDs, and you know, they look good. Skin tones look good. Also, now is a good time to mention the winner of the Save the Skin Tones Challenge. Will Mannering got first place. Congratulations, dude. You killed it with 443 votes. Thank you guys all for trying to fix that footage. Sorry, you all didn't win, but we all won watching your guys' techniques. Thank you guys so much. This rabbit hole episode was 100% inspired back when I was prototyping Orbit, and I had requested a CRI 95 LED. They sent me a CRI 70, and I was like blown away that manufacturers could legitimately game the system and be telling you that it's CRI 95 and really they're sending you like CRI 70 or 80. Like, what's going on underneath the surface, and are all of my other lights like this that I don't even know about? Yeah, we ended up switching manufacturers, and we have a legitimate CRI 95. It actually scored 98 on CRI. It's fantastic. You guys want to see it? Here it is. Here's the light ring. That looks good. Hold on. We're mixing color temperatures here. Good. That color temperature is awesome. Orbit's done, by the way. It's the first box. We're about to go deliver it to the first Kickstarter backer, so wish me luck. That's for another episode. It is here. Joshio saying thank you very much. Stay creative. Go make some art. If you're gonna light yourself, use this light and not that light. This one is a 73 and this one is a 92.